Dr. James, a 75-year-old physician with a lifetime dedicated to medical practice, spends his retirement days in a peaceful routine. He hasn't completely stepped away from his calling, though, as medicine has always been more than just a profession. It was an integral part of his identity. In moments of introspection, he often reflects on the cases that impacted him the most. Among them, one patient remains vivid in his memory. This patient battled severe obesity, a struggle that spanned years and was complicated by uncontrollable cravings for chocolate and unhealthy foods. Dr. James clearly remembers the day he first met Mr. Antonio, a man in his 40s, weighing about 140 kilograms, who walked into his office for the first time. Mr. Antonio was a worn-out-looking man, with an expression that mixed frustration and despair. He had struggled with his weight throughout his adult life, and despite numerous attempts at diets and weight loss programs, his weight kept increasing. The issue was further complicated by his inability to control cravings for certain foods, particularly chocolate. "I know what I'm supposed to do, Dr. James," he said during his first consultation, in a voice that revealed exhaustion. "But it feels like I just can't stop. Every time I see a piece of chocolate, it's like I lose control." Dr. James, having treated many patients with similar issues, knew this wasn't just a matter of lacking willpower. There was something deeper, something that needed to be addressed for any significant progress to be made. In his vast experience, Dr. James always believed that obesity isn't simply a matter of overeating or not exercising enough. He knew that, for many people like Mr. Antonio, the relationship with food was complex and often rooted in emotions and past experiences. The uncontrollable cravings that Mr. Antonio described were, in fact, a way of coping with feelings of anxiety, sadness, and even loneliness. During their consultations, Dr. James began to explore Mr. Antonio's life story. He discovered that, as a child, Mr. Antonio grew up in a home where food was one of the few sources of comfort. His mother, a loving woman who also struggled with her weight, often used sweets as a way to calm and reward her children. Chocolate, in particular, held special meaning, associated with moments of affection and acceptance. So, for Mr. Antonio, the craving for chocolate wasn't just a physical desire, but an emotional response to an unmet need for comfort and security. Dr. James understood that, to help Mr. Antonio overcome his cravings, he needed to address the emotional roots of this behavior. But he knew this journey would be long and difficult. After all, how do you separate someone from something that, for their entire life, has been their only source of solace? Over the weeks, Dr. James and Mr. Antonio worked together to create a treatment plan that didn't just focus on weight loss, but also on understanding and managing the emotional triggers that led to overeating unhealthy foods. Dr. James knew that restrictive diets wouldn't be the answer. The challenge was to teach Mr. Antonio new ways to deal with his emotions without turning to food. One of the first steps was introducing a food diary, where Mr. Antonio would note not only what he ate, but also how he felt before and after eating. This simple exercise began to reveal patterns. Every time he felt stressed at work or lonely at night, he turned to chocolate. Dr. James then suggested that in those moments, he try an alternative. Take a walk, call a fiend, or even meditate for a few minutes. Another important aspect of the treatment was the inclusion of therapy sessions with a psychologist specializing in eating disorders. The therapist helped Mr. Antonio explore his emotions and develop strategies to cope with them in healthier ways. Throughout the sessions, it became clear that much of Antonio's compulsive behavior was tied to feelings of low self-esteem and the belief that he didn't deserve to take care of himself. Despite all the efforts, Mr. Antonio's road to recovery was full of challenges. There were times when he managed to resist the cravings and began to see small changes in his weight and health. However, there were also relapses. On one occasion, after a particularly stressful week at work, he went back to consuming large amounts of chocolate and other unhealthy foods. These setbacks were extremely difficult for Mr. Antonio. He felt as if he were failing, not just himself, but also Dr. James, who had invested so much time and effort in his recovery. Dr. James, however, was always understanding. He knew that change doesn't happen overnight, and that each setback was an opportunity to learn and adjust the treatment plan. In one such instance, During a consultation where Mr. Antonio was particularly discouraged, Dr. James shared a metaphor that he hoped would bring some comfort. "Antonio," he said, "imagine you're climbing a mountain. Sometimes the terrain gets tough, and you might even slip and fall. But the important thing isn't how many times you slip, but that you keep climbing. Every step, even a small one, is progress towards the top." This metaphor seemed to resonate with Mr. Antonio. He began to see his challenges and relapses differently, not as failures, but as part of a learning process. This didn't make the journey any easier, but it gave him the strength to keep trying. Over time, there were small victories. Mr. Antonio began to lose weight, slowly but steadily. More importantly, he started to develop a new relationship with food. He still enjoyed chocolate, but no longer felt the need to consume it in large quantities whenever he felt down. Instead, he began to savor small pieces, appreciating the flavor without indulging in excess. Dr. James realized that Mr. Antonio's true success wasn't just in the weight loss, but in the transformation of his mindset. He came to see food not as an enemy, but as something that could be enjoyed in moderation. Moreover, he began to value other forms of self-care, such as regular exercise and moments of relaxation and self-reflection. One of the most memorable moments of this journey was when Mr. Antonio, during a routine consultation, said to Dr. James, "You know, doctor, for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm in control. It's not easy, and I still have my weak moments, but now I know I can keep going, one day at a time." As Dr. James reflects on Mr. Antonio's case, he feels a deep sense of satisfaction, not for having been able to cure the patient, but for having helped guide someone through one of the hardest battles of their life. He understands that obesity is an incredibly complex condition, one that goes far beyond the scale and the calories consumed. Dr. James believes that his role as a doctor is, above all, to be a facilitator of change. He cannot force his patients to change, but he can provide the tools, support, and encouragement they need to embark on their own journeys of transformation. In the case of Mr. Antonio, he witnessed how small shifts in mindset and behavior can have a profound impact on health and well-being. Now, at 75 years old, and with a career filled with stories like Mr. Antonio's, do you do any of these things? Leave a comment below if you like this video. Click the like button, and subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. Now, click on the video that's popping up for you and discover the incredible story of perseverance and resilience of the patient Maria.